Hello, and welcome back to Pathfinder. My name is Philip, and I'm here to talk about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This is part of a series I am producing covering the various deities in the Pathfinder role-playing game and its setting, the world of Golarion. Last time, I branched out a bit and discussed the Grey Maidens, an organization of warrior women founded in abuse and trauma, but which has evolved since its inception. This time, I am moving on to Nocticula, the former demon lord of assassins, and the recently ascended goddess of artists, midnight, and exiles. Before that, though, if you enjoy this video and want to hear more Pathfinder lore, consider subscribing or commenting below. With that out of the way, let's move on to the rundown. Nocticula is nowadays referred to as the Redeemer Queen, though she was previously known by the title Our Lady in Shadow. Since her ascension to full divinity, her faith has taken root in Avestan, and especially in the eastern portions of New Thassalon. Her faith is relatively young, since she lost many of the followers she had during her previous stage of existence. Still, her followers are growing in number, and the mighty Rune Lord Sortian is among her most devout worshippers. Outside of her dedicated clergy, she is worshipped primarily by artists, refugees, those who are marginalized, and those seeking redemption. Nocticula has presented herself in two predominant ways throughout her history. As the Queen of the Succubi, she presented herself largely how you might imagine. She typically appeared as a mostly nude, attractive humanoid woman, with pupilless eyes and a complex spiked hairstyle. A pair of bat-like wings sprouted from her back, and they were covered with fiery red demonic runes. Her feet took the shape of hooves made from stone, and cracks in the stone bled molten iron. 3 spiked tails emerged from her back, ending in sharp metallic blades. As a succubus, Nocticula had the power of shape-shifting, and frequently used her abilities to ensure that her targets and victims only ever saw her as the most perfect object of their deepest desires. Since her ascension, Nocticula has altered her appearance significantly. She now presents as a humanoid woman with purple skin. Her bat-like wings are now inscribed with swirling patterns and runes of non-demonic origin. Her hooves now appear more plainly animalistic, but she still has no visible pupils in her eyes. She maintains her complex hairstyle, but now dresses in a sleek, stylish blue dress. I assume she still has her shape-shifting ability, but I haven't found any confirmation of this. Nocticula makes her home in Midnight's Pallet, an archipelago of islands on the border of Elysium, which extends into the roiling chaos of the Maelstrom. Nocticula created this divine realm after her ascension. The realm consists of 24 individual islands, each of which is formed to look like a work of art created by the Redeemer Queen's most devout followers. Of course, Nocticula maintained a different divine realm during her time as the Lady of Shadow. This realm was known as the Midnight Isles, but I will be describing this realm in more detail later in this video. Devout followers of Nocticula, called Nocticulans, are typically outcasts. They might face persecution due to their ancestry or ethnicity, or might simply be seen as strange, odd, or otherwise different. They might be those seeking to atone for past crimes, whose society is not yet ready to forgive. Followers typically have a fondness for the night, and hold midnight in particularly high regard. They are typically artists of one sort or another, and place great importance on being true to themselves. While they might not be trusting to those in need, they will always be the first to offer aid. They do, however, keep a sharp eye on those they help, and are quick to punish those who take advantage of offered hospitality. Prior to her ascension, Nocticula's aspect of the Redeemer Queen was worshipped by small sects of her cult. These cultists were considered heretical by her more conventionally evil worshippers, so they were essentially a hidden cult within a hidden cult. I bring this up to explain that the earliest followers of the Redeemer Queen worshipped in small, hidden-away temples and at easily disguised shrines. In many regions, these houses of worship have been adapted to accommodate Nocticula's increasing popularity. This, combined with her faith's emphasis on the importance of the night, leads to houses of worship shrouded in an air of mystery. The one place where this trend likely doesn't apply is in New Thassalon, where the faith of Nocticula is embraced openly. Here, larger purpose-built temples are more common, and likely incorporate open areas intended for observation of the night sky. It's also worth noting that Nocticula's edicts command the creation of art during nighttime hours, so temples and shrines will likely contain art studios equipped with torches or other artificial light sources. I have not yet found any mention of Nocticula's holy text, though it might be a text called Beyond Midnight, which is referenced in her character write-up in Tyrant's Grasp. The Redeemer Queen's faith is relatively small due to her recent ascension, but is on the rise across Avestan. As mentioned before, the center of her faith is in the eastern portions of New Thassalon, and specifically in Zin-Shalast, the capital of Sorshin's domain. The faith is also on the rise in Nidal, where citizens have grown tired of Zon-Kuthon's emphasis on the night as a time of fear and pain. Nidalee's worshippers are attempting to make the night a time of liberation and self-expression, much to the frustration of the Black Triune, the ruling body of Nidal. Since Nocticula's ascension took place around the end of the Mendevian Crusades, the faith of the Redeemer Queen has also taken root in several Mendevian towns and cities, such as Igid, on the shores of the Lake of Mists and Veils. Finally, some of the elves of the Mwangi Expanse were members of the cult of the Redeemer Queen prior to her ascension, and revere her still, now that she is a full goddess. Nocticula began her existence as a demon in the Outer Rifts, and is believed to have been the first succubus. As a succubus, she preyed upon her victims using the art of seduction. She was a master of deception, enchantment, illusion, and transformation, and her ability to corrupt mortal souls was unparalleled. As a demon lord, she was immensely powerful, though even she did not fully understand the extent of her powers. This changed when she was confronted by Nahindri, a demon lord of poisons, gems, and slavery. Nahindri, as was his nature, attempted to enslave Nocticula. She defended herself, and their struggle concluded with Nahindri's death. Nocticula was shocked by this event, as she had not understood that she had the power necessary to slay her fellow demon lords. What's more, Nahindri's raw quintessence, the metaphysical soul matter which made up his self, did not coalesce in the Rift of Repose, as was normal with dead demon lords. Instead, his quintessence formed the first of the Midnight Isles, Nocticula's unholy demonic realm. How Nocticula managed to form the island from the essence of her enemy is unknown, as she certainly didn't do it intentionally, and no other demon lord has shown this ability. The slaying of Nahindri awoke something in Nocticula, a lust for something other than carnal pleasures: death. Nocticula took on the role of an assassin among her fellow demon lords, murdering her rivals and clearing the way for her own empowerment. With each defeated victim, the Midnight Isles grew. In modern times, the Isles are at least 30 in number, each one representing a powerful foe dead at Nocticula's hands. Viriavaxis, the demon lord of Shadow, is among her more powerful victims, and his death won over the grudging respect of the Shadow demons. This might be the origin of her title Our Lady in Shadow, but I can't say that with complete certainty. Nocticula has also had to kill to defend her status as the queen of the succubi. Her first rival for this position was Mara, a demigoddess of scandal and shame. Her second rival for this role was Alanitha, a demon lord of harpies, music, and seduction. Nocticula succeeded in seducing and assassinating each of these rivals for power, with Alanitha becoming Nocticula's most powerful victim and forming the largest island in the Midnight Isles. Over time, all of the demon lords of the Outer Rifts developed a healthy fear of Nocticula, though this was often paired with a burning hatred. This extended even to her brother, Sakothbenoth, the Silken Sin, demon lord of perversions and taboos. For centuries, the siblings were allies, and even maintained an incestuous relationship. As Nocticula's power continued to grow, however, Sakothbenoth became jealous. He attempted to assassinate his sister, an attempt which failed miserably. Nocticula humiliated her brother, leaving him alive but broken upon the steps of his demonic realm. She also shattered his weapon, the mystical staff Rapture, leaving him significantly weakened. As Nocticula's power continued to grow, so too did the Midnight Isles. Nocticula established her capital city of Alushanira on the island of Alanithia. The population of the city swelled well into the millions, and the city prospered. The Lady in Shadow sought to turn her realm into an economic powerhouse, and ensured that all were welcome on the streets of her capital city. While demons and their offspring were the most common denizens, visitors from other planes could be found as well. A sizable portion of mortal humanoids from the inner sphere existed here as well, having been bred from captured stock to serve as laborers, slaves, and entertainment to the denizens of the city. Alushanira drew an immense amount of trade and wealth from across the great beyond, and developed over time into one of the most impressive and grand cities in all of creation. And of course, the grandest part of this city was Nocticula's own palace, the House of Silken Shadows. Populated with over 1,000 harems of varying specializations, and consisting of 1,000 towers and 500 bejeweled domes, the palatial estate measured over 8 miles in length and 6 miles wide, and was the very definition of opulent. During her time as the Lady in Shadows, Nocticula's cult was powerful and widespread. She was popular on Golarion in places where hedonism and debauchery were openly embraced, especially in Nex, Geb, parts of the River Kingdoms, and some parts of Katapesh. She held the loyalty of the Shadow Demons, in addition to her own succubi. She was also incredibly popular among the Drow, prior to their retcon from the Pathfinder setting. And yet, despite her ever-increasing power and popularity, something strange was stirring in Nocticula's heart. She began to feel a desire for something new, for a change, for a chance to be more than just a seductress or assassin. On Golarion, a heretical cult of Nocticula began to worship her as the Redeemer Queen, a deity of redemption and midnight, and these followers still received divine powers from their patron goddess. So, why was this such a big deal? Okay, now I need to get into the metaphysics of the outer sphere and its denizens. Hold on tight, because this is where shit gets a little weird. So, prior to the remaster, all of the outer planes in the Great Beyond corresponded to an alignment. Heaven was lawful good, hell was lawful evil, the maelstrom was chaotic neutral, etc. This innate alignment extended to most of the beings born on a specific plane. For example, demons are chaotic evil, while devils are lawful evil. What differentiates mortals born in the inner sphere from outsiders born in the outer sphere is the ease with which mortals can make decisions against their nature, and thus change their innate alignment. Outsiders like angels, demons, or archons have their innate alignments baked in at a much deeper level, making it extremely difficult for them to change their natures. Some Pathfinder publications have gone so far as to claim that alignment shifts among outsiders are outright impossible, but there are plenty of counterexamples to this. The Queens of the Night, who I mentioned in the last video, are a good example, or I guess an evil example. 3 of the queens began their existence as angels, or other good-aligned outsiders, while 1 was a neutral psychopomp. All 4 of them then fell from grace to become fiends. Most of their alignment shifts were precipitated by an extremely traumatic event. So rather than saying alignment shifts in outsiders are impossible, I think it would be more appropriate to say that they are extremely difficult to achieve, and often require some intense external trigger. So what does this have to do with Nocticula, especially in the alignment-free post-remaster age? From what I can tell, Nocticula's desire to change herself had no external motivator. She simply wanted to be different, to be better than her former self. While alignment no longer defines what she was or what she became, she completely changed her underlying beliefs, as reflected by her modern edicts. She has completely abandoned her emphasis on seduction and assassination, and has embraced a worldview of self-expression and helping others. To have made this choice to change purely of her own accord is the act which defined Nocticula's ascension, which allowed her to achieve divinity. For all the power she acquired from her fallen foes, it was her self-examination and her willingness to change which raised her to godhood. Of course, this change didn't happen overnight. Over the millennia, as Nocticula absorbed power from her fallen foes, she also grew in willpower and awareness. She came to understand that, by assassinating demon lords attempting to rise in power, she was unintentionally doing something good. Her understanding and motivation slowly grew until the inherent goodness of these acts became the primary motivation for committing them. To my knowledge, the exact moment of Nocticula's ascension is unknown, though it's known to have occurred between 4714, the sealing of the world wound, and 4719, the escape of Tar-Baphon from Gallowspire. Nocticula's first act upon her ascension was the creation of Midnight's Palette, a realm which serves as a redeemed mirror of her former realm, the Midnight Isles. As far as the Midnight Isles themselves go, they remain more or less unchanged. Now under the governance of Nocticula's former steward, Shamira, the fate of the Isles is very much up in the air. Due to her original status as a demon lord and the recency of her ascension, Nocticula's relationships among her fellow deities are still in flux. The most clearly defined of Nocticula's relationships are her enmities and rivalries. Most of the demon lords of the Outer Rifts feared her prior to her ascension. Now, many of them fear her even more. This fear, however, stems not from the idea that she might seduce and murder them. Instead, many demons fear that her redemption might be something she wants to spread, using her wits and words to tempt demonkind away from their sinful ways. The rival who hates her most is almost certainly Sakothbenoth, her treacherous brother. After the failure of his attempted betrayal, Sakothbenoth lived in perpetual fear of his sister. His alliances with other demon lords began to crumble, since no one wanted to be openly aligned with an enemy of the Lady in Shadow. Like many of his fellow demon lords, he still seeks revenge on Nocticula for her betrayal and ascension, though his motives are far more personal. As the only other demon lord to ascend to divinity, Lamashtu had begun to expect over the eons that Nocticula would eventually follow in her footsteps. Cultists of Lamashtu treated followers of Nocticula with hostility prior to her ascension, in hopes of stamping out what they saw as a rival faith. Nocticula herself was always very careful to choose her targets. She never openly challenged Lamashtu, and took special care never to interfere in her plans or kill her allies. Some followers of Lamashtu wondered if Nocticula might have actually been the Demon Queen's personal assassin, but this theory is easily refuted by the fact that Nocticula never once took action against Pazuzu, Lamashtu's greatest enemy. Presumably, Lamashtu and her followers treat Nocticula and her followers with even greater hostility after her ascension. Nocticula's former steward, the nascent demon lord Shamira, was the closest thing the Lady in Shadow ever had to a friend or trusted ally. Granted, they were demons, so they would have betrayed one another at the first sign of disloyalty, but still. Shamira now rules the Midnight Isles in Nocticula's place, but it is unclear if she holds any lingering feelings towards her former mistress, be they fondness or fury. Nocticula does have one clearly confirmed deific ally. Findalad Lara, the elven goddess of architecture, twilight, and artistic preservation, has recently moved her deific realm in Elysium to be metaphysically closer to Nocticula's Midnight Palette. The two goddesses have recently formed a friendship, bonding over their shared interests in the arts and the night sky. Alright, time for some speculation. Nocticula has an interest in artists and midnight. She seeks to make the night a time of expression and creativity, where outsiders might feel welcomed. These interests align nicely with two specific major deities, Shelyn and Desna. Shelyn is a patron of art and artists, and teaches her followers to always be ready to forgive a repentant foe. Desna also encourages her followers to express themselves through art, and wants to make the night a time of safety and security for all. I could easily see these three goddesses working together and developing a close friendship. Honestly, if Sarenrae is the god to die in the War of Immortals, I could see Nocticula taking her place in the Prismatic Ray. I could see these three goddesses being worshipped as a pantheon, so here's one that I've worked out as a piece of homebrew. The Midnight Dance is a pantheon consisting of Nocticula in her capacity as a deity of redemption, midnight, and art, Desna in her capacity as a goddess of the night sky and dreams, and Shellen in her capacity as a goddess of art and forgiveness. The edicts of the Midnight Dance are to express yourself through art, to be true to yourself under the cover of darkness, and to make night a time of safety for others. Conversely, to use darkness to nefarious ends, to destroy the art of another, or to treat strangers with unearned mistrust are all anathema to the Midnight Dance. Accepted follower alignments are neutral good, and chaotic neutral, if you care about alignment. The Pantheon's favored weapon is the throwing knife, and followers are expected to decorate their weapons and armor in ways which express themselves. Its divine skill is perform, though followers may choose craft if their preferred art form is something more closely related to crafting, like carving or sewing. The Pantheon's divine font is heal, and its divine ability is dexterity or charisma. The Midnight Dance's domains are moon, stars, creation, and darkness, with the alternate domain of passion. The Pantheon grants the following spells: 1st rank Color Spray, 2nd rank Dark Vision, and 5th rank Shadow Walk. For players who might be interested in playing characters who follow Nocticula, here are a few useful details. For those using the alignment rules, Nocticula is chaotic neutral, and will accept clerics of that alignment, plus chaotic good and true neutral alignments. Her edicts are to create art true to yourself, to protect marginalized artists, and to punish those who take advantage of offered trust and shelter. Conversely, to deny shelter to the desperate, to destroy harmless art you dislike, or to finish a work of art during daylight hours are all anathema to Nocticula. Her holy symbol is a smiling moon with a spiked hairdo or crown. Her domains are change, creation, darkness, and travel. Nocticula's sacred colors are blue and white. Not much is known about the clothing tendencies among her followers due to the recency of her ascendance, but we can make some assumptions. Due to her emphasis on self-expression and art, followers of Nocticula likely dress in a wide variety of colors, patterns, styles, and materials, similar to followers of Shellen. They likely focus on darker or cooler colors like blues, grays, and purples due to her emphasis on the night. So I suspect followers will dress in ways which make them look like a mix of Shellenites and the more fashionably radical followers of Pharasma. They also likely differentiate their public-facing clothing, which they wear during the day, with their private worship garb, which they wear at night. Nocticula's favored weapon is the dagger. She has no special divine fighting technique, which I have found, so followers might adopt various fighting techniques or styles. In her time as the Lady in Shadow, her favored weapon was the light crossbow. Both of these weapons fit nicely with her past as a subtle assassin, so followers are likely to train in fighting styles which emphasize precision strikes or surprise attacks. Other ranged weapons like bows and blowguns, or weapons with the concealable trait like the corset knife, might fit nicely with this fighting style. Weapons which also can be wielded with artistic flair, such as the fighting fan or the bladed scarf, might fit well with her artistic followers. The Redeemer Queen's favored animal is the bat, meaning dwarves raised among the faith of Torag might have difficulty accepting her faith since they consider bats to be unholy. She also likely favors other nocturnal animals, like owls, wolves, or certain types of big cats. Nocticula's faith is likely to appeal to a wide variety of characters from all manner of classes. Her background as an assassin means that many of the followers who followed her through her ascension are likely assassins themselves. Rogues, alchemists, or rangers might play on this theme, as might characters with feats from the assassin or poisoner archetypes. Those who worshipped her as a seductress, then followed her through her ascension, likely have a high charisma score, and might be sorcerers, charisma-based psychics, or characters with feats from the captivator or dandy archetypes. Of course, the Redeemer Queen's most famous follower is Runelord Sorshan, a wizard of incredible power, so really any class could follow the Redeemer Queen. Bards in particular could feel a special draw towards her emphasis on art, while wizards will likely be drawn to her center of faith in New Thassalon. As for ancestries, Nocticula's faith maintains a similar broad appeal. Due to her edicts to protect marginalized artists, often interpreted to include marginalized people more broadly, ancestries and heritages which often suffer from discrimination are likely overrepresented among her faith. This might include goblins or planar scions like sylphs or Nephilim. Ayuvarin, changelings, or persons of mixed ancestry might also be drawn to the faith, as might any person of an ancestry or ethnicity not commonly found in the region where they live. Additionally, in New Thassalon, a sizable number of orcs have recently migrated from Belkzen to avoid the rising danger of the Whispering Tyrant. This, combined with Nocticula's strong presence in New Thassalon, means that a large number of orcs and Dromar might soon be finding their way to her faith. Devout followers of Nocticula are those who embrace the night as a time of expression, safety, and secrecy. They use art to embrace their true selves and find security and safety under the cover of darkness. Followers are unlikely to be naive about the dark and sinister aspects of the world, and likely have skeletons in their closet which they would like to move past. Many are probably seeking to redeem themselves for past crimes. They might not be trusting, but they expect a certain level of earnestness and honesty on the part of those they help, and are willing to punish those who fail to live up to these expectations. For GMs looking to integrate Nocticula and her followers into a campaign, here are some ideas. Nocticula's current herald is unknown, and it's possible that she simply hasn't chosen one yet due to the recency of her ascension. One likely choice for her herald is Sorshan, the redeemed former Rune Lord of Lust. Oddly, Sorshan would actually be among the strongest heralds if she was chosen to ascend, since most heralds are around level 15 or so, while Sorshan is a level 20 wizard with thousands of years of experience and the best equipment money can buy. Another choice of herald might be a redeemed demon who has followed in Nocticula's footsteps. A particularly thematic choice might be one of the many succubi who served Sorshan during her 1,000-year reign. One example might be Delvaheen, the succubus assigned to guard Sorshan's portion of the Runeforge. It's entirely possible that Delvaheen began to feel a desire for change over the thousands of years she spent trapped in the Runeforge due to the gradual ascension of Nocticula. Perhaps, after Sorshan's return, she reconnected with Delvaheen and introduced her to Nocticula's faith, inspiring the succubus to change her inner self and be chosen as Nocticula's herald. The methods by which Nocticula communicated directly with her followers are unknown, but her favor is likely signified by particularly bright moonlight and clear skies at night, or by a sudden stroke of artistic inspiration at midnight. Her disfavor is likely communicated by an overwhelming sense of unease or exhaustion at night. Nocticula still has many enemies in the Outer Rifts. Since her ascension, Sakothbenoth has begun to collect the shards of Rapture, the staff which Nocticula shattered. He hopes to reforge it and reclaim some of his former power. His followers are likely to seek out and destroy followers of the Redeemer Queen, or to tempt them back to the sinful ways of demonkind. Followers of Lamashtu will also target Nocticulans, hoping to punish the Redeemer Queen for having the gall to ascend to divinity, much like the Mother of Monsters. From low to high levels, PCs allied with Nocticula will likely face cultists and servants of various demon lords wherever they go. The ultimate fate of the Midnight Isles, Nocticula's former home, is very much up in the air, and could inspire a high-level campaign or adventure. The Isles are currently governed by Shamira, Nocticula's former steward, and a powerful nascent demon lord in her own right. Shamira herself is a fascinating character. Her hair and wings are fiery red and evocative of flames, marking her as unique among her fellow succubi. Her origins are entirely unknown, and legends say that she appeared from nowhere one night in Nocticula's palace. She won the Lady in Shadow's favor by seducing her, something I don't think any other being in existence has successfully done. Shamira was loyal to her mistress, but always harbored a secret desire to succeed her as the queen of the succubi. With the disappearance of her mistress from the Midnight Isles, I suspect she might try to increase her power. This would likely put her in conflict with a few other demon lords, but I think it's entirely possible that she could seduce and assassinate them, absorbing their power to ascend to the rank of a full demon lord. As a side note, some demons speculate that Shamira might have some connection to Sarenrae, since her burning hair and wings are evocative of imagery commonly associated with the Dawnflower. That said, the veracity of these rumors is unknown. The Midnight Isles are also littered with crystals, which can be infused with magical demonic power. These crystals are formed from the coalesced quintessence of Nocticula's fallen victims, and the most common of them are called Nahindri crystals, or Nahindrite at my table. These crystals might easily find their way to other realms, or even the inner sphere, where they might be used to fuel powerful magical rituals. Nocticula might send her followers out to collect or destroy these crystals if they make their way into the inner sphere. Finally, for a story which heavily features the faith of Nocticula, but might not have it as a focus, a GM might consider setting a campaign or adventure in New Thassalon. This realm is littered with ancient magic, and in the eastern portion of the nation, Nocticula's faith is nearly a state religion. Nocticula's faith might thematically connect with a campaign focusing on the refounding of the Thessalonian schools of magic, and the restoration of the original schools of virtue as created by Old Lord Zin. A campaign like this would likely feature Rune Lord Sorshan and Rune Lord Belimarius, and might feature prospective new Rune Lords, seeking to claim the fallen titles of the dead wizard kings for themselves. So that's it. That's Nocticula, the Redeemer Queen, and the former demon lord of lust and assassination. Much like Erasni from a few videos ago, she is a fantastically dynamic character, with a compelling and complicated story. The story of her redemption is just another part of the Pathfinder setting which I love. In the next video, I want to discuss a character who is so far beyond redemption that I love her almost as much. Up next, I'll continue to branch out a bit by discussing not a deity or an organization, but a single mortal character and her family. Up next is her Infernal Magistrix, Queen Abrogail II of the thrice-damned House of Thrune, Queen of Infernal Cheliax. See you next time.